Welcome to a brand new episode hosted by yours truly, DrDark. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's story. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the post notifications so that you never miss any other future upload from me. With this, gather around, settle down, as the classes of DrDark are now in session. Hi, I am Nathaniel. I am 25 years old, and as of writing this, I already bought my plane tickets to go as far away from here as possible. But let me go back and start telling my story from the beginning. A few days ago, I found a real estate deal so amazing that I couldn't believe my eyes. A nice 2-story house, fairly big with the price of an apartment. Of course, being the naive fool I am, I jumped into it head first. After graduating college, I landed a nice job as an IT expert in a prestigious company and had made some savings. So my plan was to build a stable life, and this opportunity would essentially give me a head start. It basically couldn't get better than this, or so I thought. The only downside was that the town my new house was in was considerably far from the one I currently lived in. This of course meant a ride in the old flying bus as I packed a huge suitcase that barely fit in its luggage compartments. Did I mention that I'm pretty prone to uncalculated risk-taking behavior? Yeah, I cancelled the lease on my studio apartment before flying to my would-be new home. Pretty smart, right? Anyway, the plane landed. I grabbed my things and I bought a cup of coffee at the airport and took the bus, followed by a cab. I had a phone call from the car shipping company and figured that they'd bring my car to my new house by the time I had done furnishing it. Oh boy, out of all the decisions I had made in my life, I regret this one the most. What wouldn't I give to have my car parked in front of my house right now? I arrived at the real estate dealership. The guy greeted me was a fairly ordinary looking man in his 40s in a suit. He told me that his name was Marcius Coppolo. He was about 5'10", had thinned out grey hair, calm and friendly demeanor, which certainly helped to prevent me from having any suspicions about this whole thing. He told me that the reason why this house was so cheap was because its former owner had inherited a much bigger house from his great-grandfather or something like that, and was now hastily trying to get this property sold to pay his debts. Plausible, right? Yeah, I thought so. While Coppolo was driving us to my new home, we had to make a stop at what looked like a police checkpoint. The man inside the little cabin came out and greeted us. He already knew Mr. Coppolo, and after a casual greeting with him, came over to my window to introduce himself as, quote-unquote, the neighborhood's homeowners association's private security guard. Yeah, quite a mouthful. I sighed and rolled my eyes. It's one of these neighborhoods? Coppolo said that he'd take me to see the HOA president first, to get introduced and such. We drove to his house and rang the doorbell. An old-looking man opened the door and introduced himself as Francesco Spallanzani, the president of the HOA. We'll call him Francesco for the entire story. He looked to be a very old, slow, weak, and fragile-looking man. He leaned on his little stick to even walk. His wife Betty, however, was in complete contrast to him in the sense that she, despite her age, was pretty lively. After a couple of coffees in their house, Francesco, Coppolo, and I drove to my new house. At its empty state, it was a pretty eerie sight. The front porch looked like a graveyard, and the old wooden stairs creaked as we stepped on them. The house was definitely older than how it looked in the pictures. The thin whistling sound of the blowing wind did not help the atmosphere. As we arrived, all the neighbors in the nearby homes came out to greet us. It looked like everyone knew each other except me, and that included Coppolo too. One thing I noticed, however, was that all the neighbors seemed to be couples without any children. There wasn't a single big family in sight. I do remember jokingly asking Francesco about where all the children in the neighborhood went, but he just brushed it off. After the introductions were over, I stupidly signed the contract and they finally left me alone. I started unpacking whatever I had in my luggage and waited for shipping trucks to bring my furniture. As the trucks came and I moved my stuff in, all the neighbors were strangely very helpful. They helped to carry and unpack my stuff and also brought me many gifts. Well, at least there's that, I naively thought to myself. The next morning, when I got out to take care of the garden, I found a box placed in front of the door. The card attached had the following written: "A welcoming gift from our new neighbors." The cardboard box had 4 smaller white cardboard boxes in it, and inside those were pieces of chocolate. After seeing that, I was very grateful to have such nice neighbors. I thought I was so lucky. Though my gratefulness may have also stemmed from the fact that I was hungry from going straight to bed after a long day of hard work. Moving stuff around and such. So I basically gobbled up all the chocolates from one of the 4 boxes. I strangely felt very full after that. I didn't feel the need to eat a full course breakfast. The rest of the day went on with further furnishing and taking care of my new property. And I was pretty chill until I got a phone call from the car shipping company stating that my car had a malfunction with its engine and that they needed a few weeks to fix it. Otherwise, it simply wouldn't take off. The good news after that alleviated my mood though. My sister and her son were coming to visit me and my new home. Been a while since I last saw them, so that definitely was a mood lifter. After they came to visit me, my sister started helping with my decorations and my nephew was playing in the backyard. Everything was relatively normal up until this point, but from there on, everything just stopped, everything just deteriorated. Because just in an hour, my nephew Stephen went missing. I knocked on the doors of all the neighbors to ask them, but all of them said they had no idea. I called Francesco, but his response was the same as everybody else. I called the cops and filled a missing persons case too. Of course, in the blink of an eye, the joy of my acquisition of a new home turned into a tragedy, as I made no less than 100 phone calls and basically looked everywhere around the neighborhood while trying to comfort my sister at the same time, who cried her eyes out. The search hopelessly ended that day with no leads whatsoever. The next day, I found another box on my front porch. This time, the card had the following written: "A gift of condolences from all your neighbors." Inside the boxes were just 2 little boxes this time. I opened up one of them and it had chocolates in it. Out of stress, I quickly took a huge bite without much thinking. This one also had that strange flavor and smell that I noticed from the first one. When I bit a bit deeper, though, my teeth stuck on something hard. It was my nephew Stephen's silver necklace. I quickly opened the other box and inside it was just a note. A note enough to make me shiver. "Sorry for the small amount." This one was pretty small and scrawny. He only amounted to 1 box of chocolate. By the way, do you still wonder where all the children in the neighborhood went? Your attendance has been recorded. Make sure to follow me on social media on your way out. Have your own stories? Submit them on my subreddit. Tune into my stories anytime and anywhere by listening to my podcast. The links to everything is in the description below. Until next time, class dismissed.